On Friday, Italy stopped free movement with Spain. Passengers arriving by air or by sea now face passport checks, and the Italian government described what it had done as suspending Schengen. The trigger was the day before, when roughly 60,000 people crossed from Morocco into Ceuta, the Spanish city on the North African coast. None of them had reached mainland Spain, let alone Italy, and according to the European Commission, none of them could. So in this video, we're going to explain what Italy actually filed, why the power it demanded does exist but is not Italy's to use, and why Spain answered with a statistic. Never miss an episode. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and stay in the loop. Let's start with what Schengen is, because the word Italy used and the document it signed are not the same thing. Schengen is passport-free travel across 29 European countries. Internal border controls between them are meant to be exceptional, permitted only against a serious threat to public policy or internal security, and only where they are necessary and proportionate. In practice, they have become close to routine. 8 Schengen states are running reintroduced internal controls at this moment, among them Austria on 4 of its borders, the Netherlands on its borders with Belgium and Germany, Poland, France, Sweden, and Norway. The European Commission has issued formal opinions to 9 countries asking them to phase the checks out. Italy is one of the 8. Since the 19th of June, it has run controls on its land border with Slovenia, notified to run through the 18th of December, on grounds that include terrorism and irregular migration. All of that was already in force before anyone crossed into Ceuta. So when Rome announced on Friday that it was suspending Schengen with Spain, the instrument it reached for was one it was already using somewhere else. The measure itself is narrow. It covers passengers arriving in Italy by air or sea. It runs for 1 month, and it was notified to the European Commission. Italy shares no land border with Spain, so there's nothing else it could cover. Interior Minister Matteo Piantedosi approved it on Friday morning. What Italy asked for is a different thing entirely. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni raised the possibility of suspending Spain from the Schengen area. Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani called for it directly. Finland's Interior Minister Mari Rantanen backed the request, and Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen suggested it be considered. At this point, an obvious question is whether any of them can actually do that. The answer is that the power exists and none of them holds it. Under the Schengen Borders Code, a country's participation can indeed be suspended, as a last resort measure. But the Commission proposes it, and the member states approve it, and the stated ground is persistent serious deficiencies in external border control, which describes a pattern rather than a single day. No such procedure has been opened, with no indication that one is coming. Then there is what actually happened at the border. Ceuta and Melilla sit under a special Schengen arrangement in which anyone traveling from either city to mainland Spain passes an identity check first. So arriving in Ceuta does not put a person inside the free travel area. There is no bridge and no tunnel. An EU official put it plainly, there are no onward movements towards the European continent. The Migration Commissioner, Magnus Brunner, called the situation in Ceuta unacceptable and said he was in close contact with the Spanish authorities, which is a different statement from saying that Spain had failed. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez wrote that solidarity and empathy are optional while respect for European treaties and the facts is not, and then pointed at the figures kept by Frontex, the European border agency. Those figures support him. Frontex does not publish detections by destination country, only by migratory route, but the routes divide clearly enough. Spain is covered by the Western Mediterranean and the Canary Islands, Italy by the Central Mediterranean. Between 2021 and April of this year, the Italian route recorded about 473,000 detections against Spain's 237,000, almost exactly twice as many, with Italy ahead in every one of those years. 2 qualifications belong with that number. Frontex counts detections rather than people, because the same person may cross more than once, and no European system tracks individuals afterwards. And the Central Mediterranean route covers Italian and Maltese waters together, so the Italian figure is an upper bound, which matters most in 2024, when the gap between them was under 3,000. The larger problem with the comparison is its timing. The Frontex series ends in April, and Ceuta happened in July, so the statistic Spain is using to answer Italy stops 3 months short of the event Italy is angry about. France, meanwhile, did not wait for any of this to be resolved. Interior Minister Laurent Nunez ordered controls at the Spanish border, stepped up on Thursday night, and activated the Rapid Intervention Border Force, raising the police presence there roughly 5-fold to 334 officers and gendarmes. Emmanuel Macron confirmed the deployment on Friday. Spain summoned Italy's ambassador, and Foreign Minister José Manuel Albares said Tajani's remarks lacked the solidarity expected between European partners. The main constraint, however, is one Italy could not get around. The measure it is able to impose on its own is an ordinary one, of a kind that 8 governments, including its own, were already using, which makes it a poor way to announce that something extraordinary has occurred. The measure that would announce it is not Rome's to take, and the grounds for it have not been established by anybody. That is the trade-off, the instrument Rome could use or the message it wanted to send. So the word did the work, the instrument could not. Describing a 1-month check on ferry and flight passengers as a suspension of Schengen costs nothing in law, requires no one else's consent, and is visible at every Italian airport within a day. In the short term, what follows is mostly procedural. Controls of this kind may run for up to 6 months and be renewed to a maximum of 2 years, so Italy's single month sits at the very short end of what the code permits. The open question is whether it gets extended and whether the Commission finds it necessary and proportionate. It has issued that kind of opinion to 9 governments already, in each case asking them to stop. Over the longer term, the change that matters may be to the ground rules rather than the traffic. Free movement across 29 countries has never rested on the absence of a suspension procedure. It rests on governments choosing not to turn the ordinary tools on each other, and on that measure, the Ceuta crossings have already produced 2 new internal borders inside Europe in the space of a week. That's all for today. Your daily shot of the world.